Welcome to Authentic English Podcast, your weekly show where education meets recreation. Here's your host with 20 years plus of teaching experience, Marcia Pike.
Marcia Pike here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Authentic English Podcast episode. Have you already tuned in to episode 5, My Journey in Present Perfect? If you still haven't, please go back and tune in right now as you will need it for today's show. In today's episode, I'm going to cover a very current yet worrisome topic, the yellow fever outbreak in Brazil. Have you been up to date with the news recently? If you haven't, this will be a great opportunity for you to catch up on the news. If you have, you will also benefit greatly from learning how to discuss such a current topic in English. Let's dive into the topic right now. The vector for the deadly yellow fever outbreak is the Aedes aegypti mosquito. According to CNN, symptoms of yellow fever usually begin 3 to 6 days after a bite and last about 3 or 4 days. They are similar to the flu and could become severe to include fever, headache, muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, and jaundice, hence its name, yellow fever. As stated in the Business Insider, the first sign that the fever was back in Brazil was the death last year of hundreds of monkeys in the Atlantic rainforest in the states of Rio de Janeiro, Espírito Santo, and São Paulo. Note that the verbs are used in the simple past, as they refer to a specified time in the past, last year. On the report of CNN, Brazil has seen several outbreaks of yellow fever since the beginning of 2017. The current outbreak of yellow fever began at the end of 2017, after several cases were confirmed in areas close to São Paulo, the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, said. Note that the present perfect is used in Brazil has seen several outbreaks of yellow fever since the beginning of 2017. Remember the connection with the present we discussed in episode 5? The outbreaks of yellow fever began in 2017 and are still seen in the present time, February 5th, 2018. The simple past is then used. The current outbreak of yellow fever began at the end of 2017. As there is a specified time in the past, at the end of 2017, the simple past is used. As stated in The Guardian, São Paulo has registered the most cases with 81, and the World Health Organization recommended last week that foreigners planning to travel anywhere in the state be vaccinated for the mosquito-borne disease. Note that the present perfect is used in São Paulo has registered the most cases. It is implied that the time expression is since the yellow fever outbreak started at the end of 2017. The simple past is later used in the World Health Organization recommended last week, as there is a specified time in the past, last week. Much of Brazil is considered at risk for the yellow fever, but last year it saw its largest outbreak of the disease in decades, including in areas not previously thought to be at risk. More than 770 people were infected and more than 250 died. Minas Gerais was at the epicenter of that outbreak, and it declared a state of emergency last week. Note that the simple past is used as it refers to a specified time in the past, last week. As reported by Época, a Brazilian news magazine, in 12 months, Brazil has had 779 cases of yellow fever, almost the same number as in the last 36 years. Note that the present perfect is used in Brazil has had 779 cases of yellow fever, as it refers to 12 months up to now. As claimed by Veja, a Brazilian news magazine, the number of confirmed yellow fever cases in Brazil has risen to 213, with a death toll of 81. The present perfect is used in the number of yellow fever cases in Brazil has risen to 213, as there's an unspecified time. The time is implied. According to the Business Insider, the Deputy Health Minister, Antonio Carlos Nardi, said São Paulo State would speed up and expand its vaccination campaign with the aim of vaccinating 8.3 million people in 54 cities in the state by mid-February. To make vaccine stocks go further, recipients will be given half doses that are effective for 8 years rather than a lifetime. According to a documentary called Mosquito from the Discovery Channel, malaria, yellow fever, and dengue came from Africa. It took around 300 years for these 3 diseases to come from Africa across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas. In the last 16 years, 3 more diseases have spread from Africa to the Americas: West Nile, chikungunya, and Zika virus. It has only taken 16 years for West Nile, chikungunya, and Zika virus to come to the Americas, whereas it took 300 years for malaria, yellow fever, and dengue to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Isn't it distressing to see how viruses can spread much faster nowadays due to travel and transportation? As I've mentioned, last video was extracted from a documentary called Mosquito from the Discovery Channel. It's really worth watching it. I'm going to link this documentary as well as all the other sources I've used in today's show to the show notes so that you can have extra reading material, okay? Have you noticed how the present perfect and the simple past were used in today's episode? Remember that the present perfect is used to give news and the simple past to give details. If you want to go the extra mile, please email me at marcia@authenticenglishpodcast.com to get a free transcript of today's episode. I do hope the Brazilian ministry and government are able to control the yellow fever epidemic. Well, I hope you all have a great week.
Great having you with us today. Keep on with Marcia on social media. Head over to AuthenticEnglishPodcast.com to practice what you've just learned. And subscribe, rate, and review. Take care.